Welcome, everyone. I'm so honored to have my dear new friend Punam Patel with us here and just sharing probably one of the most mind blowing things that's ever happened to me. And I've done a lot of mind blowing things around the world for those that don't know on a 15-year journey, an adventure. So this is really, really special. Punam is one of the most distinguished and highly sought after hypnotherapists and regression therapists, as well as offering these Nadi leaf readings,
Mm.
2,000-year-old scrolls with your name on it and your whole life. And I was very skeptical. I actually heard about this years ago and finally did it a few weeks ago. And it was one of the most mind blowing, shocking things. And we're going to get into it in a moment here. She's in Los Angeles. She's dedicated her life to the spiritual path and helping awaken humanity and guiding individuals to their destiny and their divine alignment. So thank you so much, Punam, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here with you guys, and I love talking about natty leaves. They are, as Daniel said, the most fascinating thing I've also ever experienced.
It's so mind blowing. I'll just share just a quick story about mine. So basically, the first real Zoom call we did, Punam prepared me and was like, okay, well, first of all, it's going to share your whole life, but you can change it, right? So this is not set in stone, and the reason they share it with you is so that you can improve your life, you can clear your karma, clear the patterns. And the first one, they just take your thumbprint. That's it. They don't have your name. They don't know anything about you, and they have a few scrolls that could be yours. And my mind kind of came in doubting it after like an hour. It's like, they're not, this is not real. They're not going to find my scroll. And then the third scroll they opened, they were like, Daniel, Raphael, they gave my full name. They gave the date and the
Different.
exact time of my birth. And it was on a Sunday. And my mother's name, my father's name. And it was like a log line of my entire life. They're like, you combine entertainment and spiritual teachings to awaken humanity. And all these things. I was like, yes, that's me. I was like, it was just very emotional. And then now that's like the index card, right? That's the way they find your full scroll. And then a few days later, uh, we did the actual full reading. And
Mhm.
I didn't realize it was going to be so profound. I wish I had created more space afterwards to integrate because it just like floored me. And it basically started with you're in a steady relationship, but you're thinking of leaving it, and that's exactly what I was thinking. And I decided to actually transition out of that relationship. So it starts with like where you're at right now in this moment, and then it
Mm.
goes through every year of your life until the end. And it's kind of intense. The last line was essentially, uh, you know, you will you will reincarnate one final time to achieve enlightenment, moksha, liberation. I was like, cool. So, and what's crazy is that it told me a past life that I basically do this like I love like prank calling people. I have like my inner child still very active, and like this little skit I do was exactly the past life I had. It was like mind blowing. I was wanting to channel my past life in a way to like process it, I guess, and it explained my current blocks that I've tried everything to clear. I cleared most of my blocks, but I'm like, there's this one thing, and so it explains to you why you have this pattern and how to clear it. And so it's just like, it was the most mind blowing thing. And I think the most healing thing for me was that some of the dreams I've had, I've never shared these dreams with other people. And it listed all the dreams of my life. I've seen this throughout my
Mhm.
life. So it also helped me be more patient because I was hard on myself. That's kind of like the curse of the visionary. You can kind of see all these things, but then you're impatient. And so it listed my whole life. I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to happen. You're going to have the retreat center. You're having the TV show. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. And it was just so profound, you
Yeah.
know? So I'm just so honored that you're here to share. And I guess my first question is, how does it feel to have done hundreds of these for people? You're kind of like the midwife for people's destiny, you know?
Well, when I first heard about the Nadi readings, I was fascinated. I was like, okay, I want to have a reading. I'm curious, but I'm also a skeptic. Like I'm super skeptical, and it's my culture. The Nadi readings come from my homeland, and I was still skeptical, and so I actually went all the way to India to have my reading. I refused to tell anyone I was going because I didn't want anyone to know anything about me. I was worried that if I told my cousin might tell the Nadi people some names or whatever. So I literally went alone with a friend, and we had the reading. And what was mind blowing is I went all the way to India to do it. And like you said, same experience that Daniel had, which is they're asking me these questions to get to my leaf, and they're so specific to me, and some are vague in general, but the vast majority was so specific to me. And I'm like, how do they even know what's going on in my life right now? I'm not on social media, like I don't really exist anywhere. So it was just mind blowing. Then I proceeded to have the reading. And again, the reading was just like my whole life was just like written out on this leaf right up to when I'm going to die. And it was very in alignment with what I do and who I am. So it was just fascinating. And so since then, I wanted to bring it back to the US and offer it to my clients. So that's why I do it here in LA through Zoom. But to answer your question, Daniel, yeah, it's the question is, how is it that I've sat in on so many readings, insane amounts of readings over the course of 3 years, and each one still somehow blows my mind. I sit there and I'm trying to figure out, like I'm constantly trying to figure out, how does this work? There are times where I'm like, did they Google that or this or that? But every time I just can't seem to figure it out. And it just seems like I'm starting to trust more and more that it is just on the leaf, you
Yeah.
know? And each reading has been so different. Like there have been people, I don't know, I asked them, there have been readings that have been so incredible. I think I had this one guy who was an influencer. He had 2 million followers, and he's a manifestation coach. So I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting because if he's truly manifesting and practicing what he preaches, this should come up in his reading. And so I was super excited to his reading. And in his reading, so much came up. It was like, this is going to happen. It just kept going and going. And then at some point, I kind of felt like a little insecure. I felt nervous. I was like, what if like this isn't accurate? What if they're like completely off? And so at the end of the reading, I asked him, and he said, oh no, every single thing that came up, I've been actively working on manifesting. And so it was just like a really cool experience working with someone that was actively
Mm.
manifesting and having that show up in their leaf. And so that each experience has really helped anchor it into me as well. That okay, you know what, I gotta trust this. The skeptic in me needs to like sit aside for a while.
Exactly. Well, it seems like a perfect vehicle to master manifestation and learn the laws of the universe, because it's giving you the map based on your frequency, and you can change it. You can upgrade it because it gives you the tools for that. So it's like a whole system for your life, which is so beautiful. So I think people are wondering, so like, what is Nadi astrology really, and how does it work? And the story seems kind of mind boggling. So I'm curious if you could also just
Yeah.
share a little bit about the
Yeah.
story of how they were created and how that even worked.
Yeah, so 5,000 years ago, there was a sage. His name was Sri Augustus. Well, there were a number of rishis, sages, who actually predicted various leaves. But the one I work with was Sri Augustus. And his sole purpose was to come on Earth and write down on a leaf every single person that was ever going to be born, their future, and write it on a leaf. And then connect it to a past life that was connected to the present life that would have a blockage, and to give remedies. So they say it's more important to have the reading for the remedies than the actual future prediction itself, because the remedies are where you can remove your karma and any blockages that you're facing right now. The leaf has the remedies, and so that was it. That was the purpose. And then the leaves, they existed from all those years ago, and they were stored, and they were kept in a vault. And then more recently, I think it was only about like 100 years ago or something, that the government of India gave permission for them to be duplicated. So the leaves got duplicated, and they're in various parts of India. The originals are in Tamil Nadu, and that's where I do the work. And so yeah, so they each bundle contains hundreds and hundreds of leaves. So they have billions of leaves.
Wow. Yeah, it's so mind-blowing how this works. And the mind is like, how is this even possible? But every person you've talked to, I've actually heard one of my friends just did it again, and it's
Yeah,
just completely spot on, even like the craziest little details. And again, like a big part of what you just said is the most important part is not the future prediction of your whole life, which is very mind-blowing and can be very healing, but also how do you clear the karma, right? How do you actually grow and evolve and accelerate your evolution and enlightenment? So I'm curious to say, what you went actually to these temples, they gave you a remedy to go to these temples. And I'm curious if you could share just a little bit about your experience clearing it and any other any other stories you have about that and what happened there?
Yeah, in regards to clearing the karma, I really struggled with it at first. I was like, that doesn't really make sense to me. Like, how can they just remove my karma? And I remember when I went to India, I had my reading and they gave me my list of remedies. And so my friend and I, we both had the reading, and we were driving back home in India. And she said to me, "Do you think it's true? Like, do you think they can actually just remove our karma? Like, that doesn't even sound right." And her and this debate, not a debate, but this deep discussion. And I said to her, intuitively what it feels is that the people who end up having the Nadi reading, they've ended up there because it's almost like they've paid their dues. And because they've paid their dues, this information is given to them where it's like, you can remove your karma now. And I do find that a lot of people that end up having the reading are spiritual on the path of spirituality, have been in deep meditation. Like, they are people that essentially like have work, or say paying the dues. But the funniest thing happened as we were having this conversation, because we were so skeptical. We're like, should we do this? Should we do the remedy? Do we believe this? We're driving and our rickshaw comes to a complete stop. And she says to me, my friend says to me, "I think that we need to stop being skeptical and just start saying yes to things. Like, we need to say yes." And at that moment, she said that the rickshaw like came to a halt, as if it's like almost had like a crash. And we just looked up and we turned, and it had almost crashed in front of a bank, and the bank's name was Yes Bank. So it was crazy. We were there going, like, we need to say yes more. And then that happened. So yeah, I do feel that I think the people that end up at the Nadi reading to have a reading, not everyone's leaf can be found. And whose leaf is found, I do believe that they're there at the right point to have whatever it needs to be released. And going back to your question about the remedies, yeah, the leaf does have, at the end of the reading, they share a list of remedies. And these remedies are, temples that you can visit in India, mantras you can say, certain pujas you can do, certain rituals you can do. And so I want to talk about the temples because, again, that was mind-blowing what I just experienced recently. So I finally went to India to do my temples. I've done all my remedies except for my temples because I just haven't had time to go to India. So I finally went to India 2 months ago. I had 6 temples to visit, and these temples are just beautiful, and they're old. They're so ancient. They're in a town called Kumbakonam, which is the temple town in Chennai and south of Chennai. And so I went all the way. I went to do my temples, and in the reading, it tells you specifically what you need to do. It even gives you like, here's the like the puja you need to do, buy a lamp, light a lamp, tells you everything. So anyways, I get there and my first temple is the Ganesh temple. It's the elephant god. And I remember getting to the temple, the leaf gives you a little name, a code name that's specific to you. So you tell the priest your name. So I'll say my name is Punam, and my code name was, I think it was like Shiham. So I give that code name. And I felt like as he said the mantra in front of the shrine, I was being plugged into the shrine. Like, I can't describe it, but I felt as if I was being plugged in. Suddenly, as he's saying the mantra with my name and my code, I was just like vibrating. And I could feel at that temple the ground beneath me moving. And I thought to myself, am I just like having this experience? Like, am I just like making this up? Because, sometimes that happens. But I was with a client and my mom, and I remember looking at them and they were both like, they said the same thing. They had the same experience. And that was just one of the experiences. I think the most profound experience I had so many miracles at these temples, but the most profound that I experienced was my second to last temple. I was almost getting greedy. I was like, I've had all these mystical experiences and I want another one. And I didn't have one at that temple. So I was kind of like disappointed a little bit. I was like, this is a bummer. And my mom reminded me that, well, you need to go light the lamp. Like, you haven't lit in the lamp yet. It's like, okay, yeah, I need to light the lamp. Now, at these temples, things are like really cheaply made. The lamps are really old, and it took it took me like 20 match to light one lamp. It takes a long time. By this point, my mom is super frustrated. She's like, do not light the other 6 lamps with a match. Pick the other lamp up and light it yourself. Because she doesn't want to stand there watching me light match after match. Anyway, so I go to pick up the lamp to light the other lamp, and before I can even light it, it just lit itself on fire. It just like came, it just lit itself. And I was just like, oh my God, like I looked at my mom, and thankfully she saw it, or else I would have just thought I was going crazy and just imagined that. But the lamp lit itself on fire, and there I was wanting another mystical experience. And the when you're at the temples, you go around all the shrines and you just, you just pray to them, and you get a blessing from them. And the shrines are so old at one of the temples. They were so old that you can't, they're like a blob of clay. And you can't tell if it's Shiva or Krishna. You can't tell what God it is because they've become so old. So I went through each shrine and I just prayed. I was like, I'm going to pray at each one. And I felt good. I felt calm. But by the time I got to the third shrine, something happened. I felt my Kundalini just go completely erect. And I could just feel like my whole body vibrate. So I stayed with that feeling. I'm just closed my eyes, I stayed with the feeling. And then I could hear the shrine speak back to me, like it's speaking to me. And I think, am I going crazy? Like, what is happening? Like, what is happening? And I am completely channeled into the shrine, and the shrine is speaking to me. So, I just receive, and I think, I ask for a miracle. Maybe this is it. Maybe it's my illusion. Maybe I'm just imagining this. But right after that experience, I asked our guide, and I said to the guide, whose shrine is that? Like, whose shrine was that? Because I couldn't tell. It was all just a blob of clay. And he says to me, oh, that shrine is Sri Augustius, the Nadi predictor. And it's so crazy because I didn't even know that, like, the Nadi predictor was considered like a god. I didn't know that he would have a shrine. And so it's crazy because I had no idea that that shrine was Sri Augustius. And here I am, I do the work of Sri Augustius. And I had the experience of being completely tuned into that shrine. So it was
Mm.
just, it's beautiful. It was amazing. And
I can't wait to
if you
go.
guys,
This is mind-blowing.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, if
We're
you,
gonna go
I mean,
in the fall. If anyone wants to
we're going to
join
do it on the
us,
fall. Yeah.
go to a
Yeah,
pilgrimage in the fall.
absolutely.
You're gonna get a custom set of temples, right? Based off your reading, if you do your reading before then. And again, you don't have to go to India to clear the karma, right? Because
No.
for me, it was so mind-blowing. I was like, okay, whatever it said on there, I'm gonna do exactly what it says. But right, there's different ways of
Yeah.
clearing this energy.
Yeah.
This is a remedy that you can do. And people are asking now because you said not everyone finds their scrolls, but I think most people that reach out, you find their scrolls, right? It's the majority of people, and sometimes
Yeah.
they're just not ready. And then a couple years later, they find your scroll. A friend of mine
Only,
actually said they had a reading and was like, "Oh yeah, you tried 2 years ago and you weren't ready," and that's how like it started, like on the
yeah,
scroll.
exactly.
So
Exactly. I've only had, in 3 years, I've only had one person whose scroll couldn't be found. And then he came back a year later or 2 years later, and then the reading started that way, where it said, had you come 2 years ago, your scroll wasn't meant to be found. Or if you come 2 years from today's date, it wasn't supposed to be found. Today was the day it was meant to be found. And there are so many synchronicities that happen. Like, I've had people that, they delay their meeting by 2 months. Like, we're scheduled in for their call, and they're like, hey, I can't make it. And then something happens, something just keeps happening. And then by the time it actually happens, it's like, oh, it was supposed to be found on this date. So it's all in perfect alignment, guys. Like, it plays out exactly how it needs to. And it really is a case of like life is happening for us.
100%. Yeah. So tune in to see, like, is it time for you to do it? And if you're not sure, maybe wait a little bit, right? Because it's your soul is going to draw you to it. And for me, my soul finally drew me, and it was just so
Mhm.
perfect. It was literally like I needed that moment to see that. It was so healing for me. Someone's asking about, like, is it one person that channeled these scrolls? Is it multiple sages? Because they're like, how is this even possible?
I know. I have the same question, and even with working with them, I still have that same question. There were multiple sages that predicted the leaves, and there were parts of the leaves they predicted. And so various versions exist. The one that I work with is the one that has all the future predictions. So it's got your zodiac, it's got your personality, it's got, like Daniel said, your future starting from however old you are. So if you're 25 years old, it's going to go 25, 26, at 30, at 31, at 32. It just keeps going into supposedly when you leave your body. And it's so intricate, it's different from traditional Vedic astrology in a sense that it's very detailed. And they go into giving the remedies in karma. And Daniel, you probably remember, like with the past life, like they give you so much detail. They're like, this is who you were, this is what you did, this is what you said. Like, it's so
It's
specific,
a
this
whole
past life.
movie. It's like a whole
It's like
movie of your life and your
excruciating to
past
even
life.
listen to it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it told me a little bit about my next life, where I would be enlightened Does it do that often as well, or is that more rare?
No, so yes, so Daniel's was very unique, and your reading, Daniel, was very unique. It's not surprising, you're this wizard in the spiritual world of spirituality, so it wasn't surprising, but yours was very unique. It went into a lot of detail about like everything really, about your life. And yeah, I don't know. I think people will have, I think whatever comes up in the reading, it's exactly what you need to hear. And it's important to go in with an open mind and understanding that like what comes through is where I'm at right now.
100%. This is what a few of my friends were actually scared. Someone just mentioned this in the chat. It's like, how does it feel to know how you die or when? I don't think it tells you how you die, right? But
Yeah, it
it
doesn't.
kind of gives you an estimate.
So also I spoke to Daniel about this before we started, and this is what I do with all my clients before we start the Nadi reading. I like to have a call and explain exactly how it works and just eliminate fear and doubt that you may have. And it's okay if you're scared. I was scared. I was like, I don't want to know some of these things. But here's what I truly believe, and this was difficult for me when I first started doing the Nadi readings. What's difficult is life really predestined? Is everything really predestined, or do I have free will? And the work that I do with subconscious reprogramming, we have free will. Guys, we absolutely have free will. And we're constantly creating our reality. So what I actually truly believe is that what's coming up in the leaves is what you're currently vibrating at. So the vibrations that you are feeding consciously and unconsciously, that's what's going to come up in the reading. And so it's exciting to know, because once you know, we can actively manifest it, or we can actually delete the things we don't like. So it doesn't have to be scary. It's exciting to know. And I do think some things are predestined, because how was it that 5,000 years ago someone could write all this? I think how it works with Vedic astrology is that our soul actually comes to experience certain things. Our soul, for its evolution, wants to have certain experiences. So Daniel, for you, for example, your soul could have been like, I want to go through darkness at 22 to have a life-changing experience. At 30, I want to experience even more adversity so I can grow, right? But how you get there from a day-to-day basis is free will. Every day you're choosing your reality. So I think some things are predestined, but overall we have free will. And I honestly believe this, that the leaf is actually changing. The writing on the leaf is absolutely changing. I think it's an alchemical process. And you, Daniel, are the master of alchemy. So you could vouch for this. I truly believe that the writing on the leaves are changing. If you go back 3 years from now and you change your vibration, you actively work on manifesting what you want, it will show up in that reading.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this, because this is going into timelines, shifting timelines now and all this. And someone just asked, like, shouldn't the leaf predict that we change our vibration? Like if it knows our life before it even happens. So this goes into free will and, all these things. They're great questions. So can you give us a quick story of like someone that their leaves actually changed a few years later? I think you told me, right?
Yeah, well, actually mine. So I'm still, I love to research. I love to keep learning, and I'm always trying to like decipher this code. And the more I do it, the more I'm learning. And so for me, I had my reading. It was about almost 3 years ago. And I decided that, I'm going to go again after 2 years. And so I went back to have my reading. And so I went through the same process. The process is the leaf identification, where they ask you yes, no questions to get to your leaf, right? Now, when I did that, the questions completely changed from 2 years ago. And I was like, how have they changed? And I think they changed because my life is changing. My vibrations are changing. And what was fascinating was the first time I went to get the reading, the bundles were this thick. And you probably remember, Daniel, you had bundles that were around this thick, right? They were thick bundles.
It
And
was a
for
lot of
Daniel, I
info.
think, yeah, we went for 3 bundles and I had 3 as well. But the second time I went back, my bundles were like tiny and they couldn't actually find my leaf. And I said to them, what's happening? And they're like, well, you haven't fully like changed your vibration. What are you actively manifesting? And it was true. Like it hadn't changed from my previous reading. So it's like you've got to actively be manifesting. And it's almost like the leaves are magically appearing or something. Because how was it that bundle was tiny and the first round it was massive? And then the questions changed completely.
Yeah. So they're so intuitive that they channel basically, if you decided to read it again in the future and you were meant to, it would be a whole maybe different or partially different set of uh to reflect your new timeline, which is really mind-blowing.
Yeah, and also bear in mind the reading is so long, as in it goes from, like, say if I was 30 years old, it goes from 30 to 80. So
Yeah.
for me to say, did my predictions come true? You have to think about this. Only a year's gone by. That's a tiny segment of the leaf that's just a year long, you know? So you have to actually wait to live like 5, 10 years of your life to see if it actually came true or not. But it's a
Yeah.
tiny portion. But I have had somebody who said to me, my life has changed when I got the reading. The reading was 3, 4 years ago. Can I do it again? I said, yeah. He didn't do it through me the first time, but he came the second time. And what was fascinating was the reading was pretty much the same for the last 20 years, but for the next 10, it had changed because his vibrations had changed. He was feeding different vibrations. He was starting to manifest differently. And some things that he wanted to manifest came back in again. So he felt like, oh, cool, it's working. What I'm actively manifesting is coming through. And so that was really cool to see.
Another amazing question that just came in is
Yeah.
what language are they in? And this is mind blowing because someone's like singing it
Yeah.
from this ancient language. Then there's a translator, and then you, Punam, I mean, translate for me. But I love what you do because you then help, manifest and align everything, in a complete package to
Yeah.
just do it with your unique skills that everyone else doesn't really have that you when you just get the reading. So, can you share a little bit about the language and how that all works?
Yeah. So the language is in Tamil Nadu, like Tamil is the language.
Yeah.
And they say Tamil is actually older than Sanskrit. I don't know. They're always debating over that in India, whether Sanskrit's older or Tamil is older. But what I love, and you remember this, they sing it. They
Mhm.
sing it. The leap
Yeah.
is a
They're singing
vibration.
your whole
So
life to you.
yeah, Sanskrit is the language of vibration. And so you sing it. And so the reader is there and he's singing. And then the translator takes it, or I take the information and I pass it through. But it's beautiful. It's such an ancient language.
That's so
And
beautiful.
and it really is an experience. And yeah, to answer the part of the question where for me, Daniel, I don't want it to just be another psychic reading. I don't want it to be just another psychic reading. And you guys, everyone here on the call, I'm sure most of you probably have had some form of a psychic reading before, right? Like you've probably seen a psychic here or there or had some kind of a reading. And what I noticed is that when we go see psychics, they'll tell us something, right? They'll say, Panam, you're going to meet the love of your life in December. And I get hella excited. I'm like, hell yeah. And I'm excited. And then like November comes and I'm waiting for it. And I'm
Mhm.
waiting for it. And December comes and then nothing happens. And then a whole year goes by. And then I remember that I had this reading. And I'm like, hold on. Like, what? Was that psychic just like BS? Like, she wasn't legit? We blame it on the psychic. And look, granted, the psychic can be, there are many out there that could be a fraud, right? But for me, the truth is actually what the psychics do is they read the sixth sense. And what the sixth sense is a vibration. They can read the vibrations you've been feeding consciously and unconsciously. They're going to read your highest vibrations. And highest vibrations doesn't actually mean good, positive things. High vibration means what are the vibrations that you're feeding so much that they're shaking at such a high frequency? And that's what the psychic picks up on, the high frequencies. So at the time I had my reading, maybe the psychic, I was in a position to receive love. I was like, universe, allow myself to have love. I feel good. So the psychic's like, in December, that's going to happen. But here's what happened. Once I became privy to the knowledge of having love come into my life in December, I shifted vibration from receiving and having to wanting. So then the universe started giving me more of what? Wanting love to come in versus having. So come December, it didn't happen. It didn't come into my life. So do you see that? Do you
Mm.
see how we're actually creating our realities? We're controlling it all. And in so many ways, it's been dangerous having psychic readings without knowing this, without truly understanding this. And so for me, it's about understanding that you're creating a reality, you're feeding vibrations, and what vibrations are you feeding? And so I like to work with clients before the reading and after the reading so that when they finish the reading, I don't want this to be another reading that they just take and park and walk away. I want them to actively manifest the amazing things that came through. And I give them tools. I say, here are some tools you can use. So it doesn't become another reading that a year from now, nothing happened. And then the things that we don't like, Daniel, like, listen, when they told me that I was going to die at 77, I was like, that's young. I want to live for longer. So I've actively since then changed that. I've changed that. So that's what I love about it. It's like, don't fear what comes through. Here's an opportunity to actively manifest the things we love. And here's an opportunity to delete the things that we don't love. And it's okay. In the past, we just didn't know how to do that.
Mm. So this is a very serious question. My past
Yeah.
life is in India. So am I, like, it's on the scroll. So am I allowed to use an Indian accent and not get canceled? Because that's a really good accent.
I don't know. I mean, I'm Indian and I'm all good with that because I like playing around with it.
I feel like I kind of want to just have that there so I can do it, because it literally, I do this. I've always done it, and it's literally the same dialect as the region in India where my last past life was. And
Yeah.
so I think I was being a comedian, I was channeling my past life without knowing it.
Yeah.
And literally the exact story of my past life was the little skit I would do. So that was the most shocking part of my reading. It was literally
Yeah.
like the most shocking part, because I'm like, wait, I thought I was just kind of making this little joke up, and I'm like, that's literally my entire past life. So
Yeah.
that's why, like, it's, having your past life read is, I think, one of the most profound parts. And what's even more profound was that is then shortly afterwards doing the past life regression with you, because I was able to go, I think, to like 4 different lifetimes, and it
Yeah. Which
explained
was
so
fun.
much, it clicked so much, and I was there, like, it's not like, oh, I think I was a little samurai. It's like you're literally there, like,
Yeah.
fully, because of the system and technology you have to take people there. So I'd love to kind of, you're going to be doing this next week in the academy, so you're all welcome to join. And if you're not part of the academy, just email us, info@dreamporting.com. We'll send you a free trial so you can just come for free and try it out, because this is something not to be missed. So I'd love to hear just what makes your past life regressions also so special, because I've had one before and it was not nearly as profound or deep as this one.
Yeah. Past life regret. Have you experienced it before, Daniel, or was that your first time?
Yeah, I did it once years ago with someone that seemed to be really, really good, but it was okay. It was like, cool. I got some glimpses, but with you, I was like there, I really dropped in so much deeper. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's unique with me with the past life regressions is I did start off actually doing them just the traditional way, the way I was trained. And it's a light hypnosis that I take you through to get into the part of the brain where we access information about whatever it is that we need to access. And how I do them now is a little different. I actually do energy work, so I channel energy. So I now have the ability to go into the dimension where you end up. So if you end up in a past life in 14 BC, I can actually go there and we can do whatever healing that's allowed or that I'm given permission to do, and we can cure whatever it is that we need to cure. What I love about regression therapy, and I'm curious, you guys, if any of you have experienced it before, but what I love about it is that it takes you to the root cause of whatever you want to work on. So you might have a physical pain, my shoulder hurts. You might have blockage, money is a blockage. You might have relationship patterns. Every time I find the amazing person in my life, I sabotage it. I don't know why. I walk away. Whatever. I have avoidance style. So whatever it is, actually takes us to the time, the day, and the place that it got stuck into you energetically. And so by going to the root cause allows us to clear it at the root right then and there. And remember, time is an illusion. It's actually happening right now. The past isn't actually the past. Everything is happening in one container called the now. So we can go back to the moment, that's the now, where that problem got stuck in you. And in that moment called the now, we can take it out. And so I've had crazy stories. I had a woman with a 30-year bladder condition and suffering for 30 years and had 6 surgeries and insane amounts of, holistic Chinese medicine. She's done everything and nothing was working. And then she came for a session and she said to me, I don't even believe in past lives. She's like, I really don't believe in past lives. But she's like, I don't really care. I'm at this point where I just want to be healed. And if you can help me, I'm willing to try. And I said, great, no worries. You don't actually even have to believe in any of this. Because what I love is that I don't do the talking, they do. You know what I mean? So you can say you're not a believer of past lives, but with your eyes closed, how are you able to describe to me what's in 14 BC ancient Egypt, the apothecary table in front of you? How are you able to describe the contents on that table? Where is that coming from? You know? So this woman, she regressed back to actually ancient Egypt, and she was sliding down the sand dunes. She's a little girl. She's the age of like 9, 10. She was sliding down the sand dunes. And it always takes me to the root cause. But that day, I was kind of a little skeptical. I was like, I'm seeing a little girl sliding down sand dunes. Like, this doesn't seem like anything's happening. But I let the scene play out because it's never failed me. So I let it play out. So she's sliding down the sand dunes, sliding down. I hear from my client a scream. She just screams. And I said, what happened? And she said, there's a metal rod sticking out and it got stuck in my crotch and I'm bleeding and there's no one here to help me. And that is what was the cause of her bladder condition in this lifetime for 30 years. So I'm able to go into that dimension. I can see her and I ask for permission. I say, has my client learned the lessons that she needs to? Because guys, you have to remember everything that happens in our life is a teacher. Every adversity is a teacher. It's here to help us grow. It's here so that we can learn the lessons. So if you've got something in your life that's not shifting, ask it. Go into meditation and say, dear teacher, give me my lesson. What is it that I'm still not seeing, hearing, experiencing? And you can remove so much on your own. Your mind is more powerful than any modality out there. You just don't know how to use it, you know? And so for her, I was given permission to do energy work. And what happened, I don't tell them what I'm doing. I don't speak, I don't say anything. I just say, visualize white light. And they speak to me. So she says to me, oh my God, I've stopped bleeding and the wound's gone. And just from that session, she hasn't had a problem with her bladder.
Wow.
And it's not always like that. That's like a extreme epic case. Sometimes people need multiple sessions. Sometimes we have multiple lifetimes where the same pattern is playing out
Right.
because we haven't learned the lesson. So we do it again and again and again. And remember, everyone, the past isn't the past. The future isn't the future. It's all here right now. Everything is happening right now. We're like little puppets with these strings, and there's one soul, you know? And it's like this string is connected to this string, and they're both pulling. And because they're both pulling, we need to fix what's happening in this dimension to heal here. So what it does is just it has a you know, a ripple effect on you. And so as we clear it here, you'll find that it helps you clear it here. And so, yeah, it's I love regression therapy. It's such an adventure. And when I did it with Daniel, I don't know if you want to share some of your stories, but it was just so fascinating, some of the things that came through for the lives that you ended up in.
It made so much sense to me. It just explains so much. And I love what you said about just the perspective of like, divine, please show me the lessons, right? Because often we're just
Yeah.
trying to escape the lessons. Then we're spending all our money and time trying to like make more money or fix this relationship when we're just ignoring the root karmic lesson, right? Which if we just put our awareness on, which can be from either the Nadi readings or the past life, as one of the vehicles to do it. There's many vehicles, right? Can offer so much clearing and awareness, because once you really just learn the lesson, you know, the body can be healed, the abundance can come, like all those things can happen when we're just aware of that block. So I'm so excited that you all get to experience next week a gifted session here where you can go. And what I love so much, because I've done this before, the past life thing before, and
Yeah.
not only are you just like hypnotizing people, which is like more of the 3D stuff, which still works, but you're sending
Yeah.
energy. So it literally felt like a magic carpet where I was like, wait, this is really easy. I'm just actually going there. I could see it all. So it's really mind blowing. So we're gonna sending that energy, and she's gonna be activating you all next week when we do our live regression therapy here in the academy. So please join that, and I'm really excited to see you there. And yes, it's, you know, my reading was mind blowing. Is there any particular part you remember that you want to share? You're totally welcome to share if there's like a memory there, because there's so many things we went into.
From your regression?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I share the one that was personal for us?
Oh yeah, that's because you were like, I wonder if we have a, because you know, yeah, you totally.
So, you know, I met Daniel a wee while ago, and we kind of just hit it off, and he's been so sweet. He's like, I love what you do, and I want to share it with the world. And like, you know, this little part of me that's skeptical, I'm like, why does he want to help me? Like, what does he want? You know, I was like, I kind of felt like that. And then him and I laughed about this. And And then he came to me for a regression session. And when I regressed him, and I don't, like, I've done this only twice in my entire life, where I intuitively feel called to ask my client to go to a lifetime where I'm with them. And I've only done that twice. I don't ever feel called to do that. But with Daniel, I felt called. So I asked him in the session, I said, hey, is it okay if I regress you to a lifetime that maybe you've had with me? Because I feel like I know you. Like, and he's like, yeah, okay. And so I regressed him to a lifetime that he's had with me. We don't know where it's going to go. And it's so strange. He kind of stops talking and he's like quiet for a little while. And he's like, I don't know if you're gonna like this. Because remember, the client sees everything. So see, it's like a TV screen being played out. The lifetime is playing out. He's like, yeah, we're in Turkey and I'm the Sultan and you're my queen and we're married. And you know, yeah, I have all these mistresses.
You were crying. It literally like it goes from like zero to like I'm in Turkey as a sultan and she's just crying because I'm
Yeah,
like with these other women and I'm like, oh my
yeah.
God, I feel so bad. It's a naughty
And so
sultan.
right. And then how it works, I move you from significant scene to significant scene. Okay. So then we go to the next significant scene. And it's like, oh, it looks like we're doing better now because it looks like we kind of like patched things up and we've had a baby and we're both happier now. Like the baby's helped us. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then he moves me to the next scene. I move him to the next scene and we're older now. And he's like, we're older, we're still together, we're happy, but I still feel a lot of guilt of how I treated you and how much it hurt you, what I did. And he's like, so I've now dedicated my life to showing the world your gifts. You're actually like a psychic and a healer in that lifetime. And so now I'm promoting my wife to everyone because I want her to live for her gifts and share them with the world. And I've made that my mission. And then I thought to myself, wow, there I was thinking, why is Daniel trying to help me? I don't know this person. I just met him. It was a
So
pattern
good.
playing out from our past life.
Hashtag past wife. And now we're good friends. And actually, I'm friends with Clint, who's like one of the top master healers in the world, who is your current partner. We all had a beautiful experience, and he's going to come on here, I think next month, maybe, because his codes are just
Yeah.
incredible too. And so this is a perfect time to come out of the consultant closet and basically, like, I feel like when I was like 4 years old, I was already acting like a sultan. And I remember
Yeah.
this quick memory where, I was also raised like my mom's French. So I was just like really into like gourmet food, and I was like this little baby, and I was just my aunt would make me these like madeleines, which are like this gourmet French pastry, and I was 4 years old. I remember like I just wanted one. I woke up and I just like threw ice water on her, asking her to like cook me a gourmet meal. So I came in with like a little sultan complex, and so
Yeah.
I had to do some
Well,
clearing there.
you
But I was like,
remember?
okay, that makes sense. It's like always kind of like people are like kind of this like vibe, I was like, I feel like I've just
Yeah.
like kind of had this lifestyle before. So it's interesting, like, how were you when you were a child? Like, did you have these weird kind of like things that are like, where did you get this from? Like, your parents are not like this. You didn't learn this from somewhere, right? And so it's
Right.
just really funny sometimes to just you see the past life and I'm like, oh wow, it's kind of like you've
Yeah.
been this
And
before. Um, it's
they
just pretty
they
funny.
do say that a lot of people, like when you see your past life, like you see it like a TV screen, it's so detailed that you will doubt it. They like in my training when I did this years ago, they were like, it's common for the client to doubt it and the client to feel like, did I just imagine that? Do I have an overactive imagination? And I always say, ask for a sign of synchronicity. Like I've had a client who ended up in the White House with JFK. And she's like, did I just like, had I like read something about JFK and I just imagined that? And I said, no worries, ask for a sign of synchronicity. And the craziest thing happened, she did ask for a sign of synchronicity. And within 2 days, she said her neighbor came knocking on the door and said, hey, I'm clearing out my garage and I have a bunch of these magazines from the 80s, 70s, 80s. Do you want them? And the one on top was like a People magazine with JFK on it. And she was like, wow. Like, so you get, and even for Daniel and I, actually, do you remember at the end of our session, at the end of the regression session, I picked up my phone and the first message I had was from a client saying, hey, I'm on my way to Turkey. I'll message you when I get back. And I thought, wow, we're just in Turkey. Where's the Sultan? And so I don't know, like if there's doubt, like just ask for a sign of synchronicity because I've spent most of my life being skeptical and it just continues to blow my mind. And I think it's healthy to have a little bit of skepticism, it's healthy
Oh,
because it
totally. I still have some, and I think it's good to, discernment, right? Skepticism is more from the mind. I think it's just like, let's really tune in, or because there's a lot of fake things out there and distorted things. And so I've spent 15 years researching, but this right here is the real deal. And I'm just so excited for so many of you to try it and experience it, because I just was like, I love sharing this with the world. It's like, I can't believe people don't know about these thousands of year scrolls, for example, Um, so I'm
Yeah.
curious, is there another cool story you have, of someone that you did a reading for, in the Nadi Astrology, because you've done hundreds of these, and I think people want to know
Yeah.
just kind of like an example of something that can happen or come through there.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember, guys, what's going to come through is what you're feeding. Remember that, because we create our realities. Every single day, we are creating our realities. So ask yourself, what vibrations am I feeding? What am I trying to actively manifest? And I love that Daniel has this academy, and I know that he's a master of manifestation. So I'm sure that if you guys are doing his work, you're probably all pro manifestors. So it's going to be exciting to see what comes through. Um, but I'm always curious, and I like to test to see like how these things work. I did have a client who is the wife of an A-list celebrity. I'm not going to say his name because you all know him, but his wife came through. And again, all we have is a thumbprint, right? And by the time we get to the leaf, we only have the first name. So we didn't have the last name or anything like this. They had no idea who this person was. But her reading was just incredible. Like so much happening. You're going to do this charity, you're going to do this, you're going to work with this production, you're going to do that. You're working with these politicians. Like it was insane. And it made sense. She has access to all of that. And what blows my mind is how could they know that? All they know is her name, and her name is a generic name, like a generic, like typical name that everyone has. And so there are cases like that that still blow my mind. My partner actually didn't have a reading for years. He was like, I don't know if I want to know. I don't know if I believe in this, and he's kind of skeptical. And then just recently, he had a reading, and what I found so interesting is that my team in India don't know who my boyfriend is. They know that I have a boyfriend, but they don't know who he is. And so when we did the reading, we just treated it like he's just a client. He's just a normal client. I don't know him. I asked him the questions, and so they had no idea. But what was so fascinating was my name came up in the leaf. And at the end of and so much information in his reading came up about me. And at the end of the reading, my team was so confused. They're like, "Are you the person that's in the leaf, or is it another Punam?" And so it's so fascinating. I don't know how it works. There's no way for them to connect the two of us together. I don't know. I don't really exist online. We don't exist together online. So there are just so many cases like that, and so many cases of people that have said, yeah, they said this and this happened. And then there have been cases where things have changed, because remember, we're creating our realities. It's changing all the time.
100%. This is just so mind blowing here, and I'm so happy to see all of you on here. I'm feeling a lot of amazing energy here. Anyone have questions? Feel free to put in the chat if you want to ask
Yeah.
any questions about either of these things. And I'm really excited to see you all next week for the regression, to get a taste of this magic and to really just travel into there. There's just so much magic to be experienced here. Um, can
Someone
you
wrote
explain how the
about
thumbprint
walking.
works and how they find the leaf? That's a question here.
Yeah, so you get a thumbprint, and what they do is they meditate on the thumbprint to find 3 to 4 bundles. Because remember, there are like millions of bundles. And then from those bundles, we have a second meeting. So first meeting is with me, where I go through the whole process. The second meeting is with the team in India. It's on Zoom. And what they're doing is they're going to go through leaf by leaf to get to your leaf. They're going to go through each bundle leaf by leaf. Now, to get to your leaf, they're going to ask you yes, no questions. So they're going to say, both your parents alive? Yes, no. If you say yes, they're going to stay on the leaf. If you say no, they're going to flip it, and they're going to keep flipping it. We're going to know it's your leaf once we get to your name, your date of birth, your mom's name, and your dad's name, and your partner's name if you're married. That's what's going to come up on the leaf. Now, you may think like, well, if they're asking me yes, no questions, are they collecting information about me? Like I felt kind of skeptical about that. I didn't feel good. I was like, they're asking me so many questions. Are they just going to take that information and plug it into my reading? The thing is, they're not recording anything. They're literally just flipping a leaf. And Daniel, you probably experienced this where they ask the same question like 3-4 times. Do you remember that? It's like 30 minutes would go
Mhm.
by, and then they'll ask the same question again. They're like, are both your parents alive? And you're like, I already answered that. It's because they're not taking track of what you're saying. They're literally flipping. And it's like a wild goose chase for them to get to the actual leaf.
Yeah,
So it's repetition. It can be a little tedious, but it makes me actually feel good knowing that they're not actually recording all your information. They're just reading what's coming up. And as they flip, it's helping us get to the path of your leaf.
100%. You know what's really interesting? I don't know if you've experienced it with other people, Punam, but when they were trying to find my scroll based off my fingerprint, there was a lot of similarities. There was like other people, right? They weren't me, but they were very similar in some ways. I had like very rare similarities. I'm
Oh,
wondering
yes.
if the sacred geometry of your thumbprint is somehow related to like
Oh, yeah.
similar souls
Well,
or soul paths, you know?
yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what happened in my reading? Because to get to your names, you guys, it's what they're given on the leaf is a sound. Okay. So in the leaf, it'll give you a sound like g or p. And they'll say, does your name begin with the letter P, T, C, or H? Like they're trying to decipher the sound. So you'll say yes, no. So there is a part of you that's like, well, I'm giving them yes, no's and blah, 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 blah. But here's what's interesting. Even though we're giving them the yes, no's, they're still trying to find the exact leaf, and they really are reading the questions and flipping it and flipping it. They got to my leaf with my name, my date of birth, my mom's name, and at the time I was married to my ex-husband's name, but they couldn't find my father. And I said, you know what? No worries. This is incredible that you found all of this. Let's use this leaf. And they're like, no, this is not your leaf. This is you existing in another dimension with a different father. That blew my
Well,
mind. I was like, wow. It's like, wow, okay. They really aren't just recording information about me. They really are reading off this leaf because they weren't willing to just go with that leaf. They were like, we have to get to your leaf. And they're like, I'm sorry that it's tedious, but I gotta just asking you, asking you the yes no questions. So, and the call that we have, the first call that you have with me, we can talk about this. So if there's any, part of you that feels skeptical, like, hey, it feels strange saying yes, no, giving them too much information, like I totally understand. And I can talk you through the process a little more in detail so you can feel that like Daniel, for example, yes, no questions were, you work in the field of spirituality. You're like, yes. They're like, you are some kind of a healer. You're like, yes. That was it. And then in your reading, how detailed was what they told you about what you do in the world of spirituality for your future and what you're going to do,
it was insane. Yeah, it
right?
was absolutely incredible. So it's just mind blowing. It's like those old school operators, they're just basically tuning into your timeline and then connecting you with your whole life, timeline destiny. It's one of the
Yeah.
coolest things ever. It's just, I'm so glad we're sharing it because I want everyone to know about this. It's been so healing for me. And we're getting a
Yeah.
lot of beautiful questions and shares here. Uh, Someone just
Okay.
said, I happily joined the academy, started 1 month ago every morning, and it gave me a lot. And also my students, they all have their dream jobs now. We all thank you. That's incredible. We
Wow.
do have a manifestation academy where we help you just very quickly magnetize miracles and manifestation. So that's where we're going to have the past life regression as a gift next week, and just inviting all of you to join if you haven't experienced it yet. There's a free 30-day quest program on there to shift your timeline, so it actually goes great. It's a system to rapidly just learn how to dissolve your identity and find whatever timeline your soul truly desires, and learn how to stabilize that frequency. And magical miracles happen all the time when we do that. So definitely inviting you all to join. um, how does one prepare for the reading? That's a good question. What would you say for that? And also, just in case some people have to go, please share, how can people contact you and find you?
Yeah, so I have a website. Maybe I'll put my information down here below, but I have a website that you can all go to. And it's best if you just reach out to me on my website. There's a contact me page. I can respond to that with any questions and how you guys want to go about it. And do you have access to my website, Daniel?
So it's Punam Patel Hypnotherapy.com, right?
Yeah,
I'll
let
put in the
me,
chat. And if you're watching the recording, just email us. We'll also try to put in the YouTube link, info@dreamporting.com. So if you have any questions or want to get a free trial or contact Punam, just email us to info@dreamporting.com. But her website is Punam Patel Hypnotherapy.com. And we'll put
Yeah,
that
I
in
put it in the
the chat
link down below. How does one prepare for the reading? Yeah, there's not really much you need to do. Just come with an open mind. And, I always say there's no such thing as a bad reading. There's no such thing as a bad reading, meaning that, listen, if you don't like what came through, here's an opportunity to change that. If you didn't know what vibrations you're feeding unconsciously, then this is a gift. They're going to tell you what vibrations you're feeding unconsciously, and it's an opportunity to change it. I've created a whole program called Subconscious Reprogramming because we are so programmed and conditioned, and manifestation is happening at this part of the brain that needs a whole new identity, you know? And so I said there's no such thing as a bad reading. And whatever comes through, it's an opportunity for us to actively manifest things that we love and delete the things that we love. You don't really need to prepare. There's nothing you need to do. But I work with you beforehand. That's why it's quite a long process. It's 3 long meetings. And I work with you before, and I have a conversation with you after the reading to help you anchor it in, help you understand how you can manifest. You can do my subconscious reprogramming with me after the reading, and we can actually actively manifest all of that. But if you don't want to do that, that's okay. I still give you the tools to do it on your own. I explain to you these are the
exactly.
things you can do. And the Dream Reporting Academy, it sounds like they offer a lot of tools that people can use as soon as they have their reading.
I would say I don't think you need to really prepare for it, but I would definitely give some space afterwards to process, because imagine it's kind of like you have like a near-death experience and you see your whole life flash before your eyes. That
Yeah.
was kind of like what happened for me. It was just very, I usually don't get emotional with like psychic readings or anything. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm kind of like neutral and like, and this was just like it was just very emotional, and it just hit me in a deep place, right? And it's it's just a beautiful opportunity. People are like scared sometimes, but once everyone I've seen, it's like it's not scary at all. It's really just like a very beautiful, sacred uh technology. Because think about it, if they were enlightened enough to be able to channel your whole scroll, know when you're going to open it, and start with the moment you open it of
Yeah.
what's currently going on and your past life and all that, like it's also for your highest good, right? It wouldn't, it's not entertainment. It's not something that's going to scare you or, maybe make the manifestation worse, like shift your vibration. It's all about helping to inspire you and to bring awareness to things so that you can actually align with your highest timeline. So because we have a timeline shifting school, I think this is the perfect complementary tool to use if you're guided. And I'm just curious now, just anyone here called or interested in it, to do it, at least either now or in this lifetime. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of hands up. It's I love it. I'm feeling the excitement here.
Yeah.
100%. Yes. Okay, amazing. So yeah, please reach out to Punam. And if you can't find her, again, just email me at info@dreamporting.com. We'll connect you to her. And I'm just so excited to be able to continue sharing, and also to actually have a profound experience next week doing our regression here. So Punam, anything
Yeah.
else you want to share?
Yeah, so guys, if you come for the regression next week, it's important that try not to have a heavy meal before you come. Just have a light meal. Try to don't drink too much water because you may need to go use the restroom. We're going to be in it for it takes about a good 30 minutes just for conditioning to get to that part of the brain. And then we're going to be in the regression. We're not going to be for a long time because it's going to be a group session, but there's going to be a lot of Q&A afterwards. And opportunity for you guys to share what comes through. And we're going to really learn from the sharing that all of you are going to be doing, sharing what comes through for you. So light meal, make sure that you're in a room where you won't be interrupted. Okay, so where you're comfortable, where you won't be interrupted, like somewhere like that you have a couch you can lie on, have the laptop so that you can just, I can see, I need to be able to see you guys too. So I can see like from your head to your chest. I can just see that you're breathing calmly, and just bring a blanket. Sometimes when we get into that part of the brain, we can start to get really cold or hot. So just have a blanket ready, and yeah, just be comfortable and somewhere you're not going to be interrupted.
Yeah, you're going to go on think of it like a medicine ceremony. We're not going to take medicine, but it's like an astral journey. So the
Mhm.
more you can just be clear and, not be doing crazy work right before, and just have your mind, you can even meditate a few minutes before, because it's going to be a profound experience if you just allow it to. It was so
Yeah.
life-changing for me. So highly recommend you join and just prepare in the good way, and don't eat heavy so that you can really journey, and then you can have a nice meal afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Is there any more questions, Daniel? I can't seem to see the chat.
Let's see here. Someone was asking about the price here. Do you want to share that, or do you want people to reach out to you for that?
Yeah, no worries. I charge 600 for the reading. It's pretty much the standard price that's everywhere and online. My reading, I pay for all the chapters. So I think some people offer like you can just pay for this chapter or that chapter or this, but I do all of it. So it's your personality, your zodiac, your lucky numbers. It goes through the entire future prediction, and then it goes into past life, karma, remedies. So it goes through the whole thing. And my guys are really good, actually. What I love about them is that they actually if your leaf is not found. So I know online there are some people that they take, I think they charge similar 500-600, but if your leaf is not found, they just take half the cut. But my guys, even though we go through meeting 1, meeting 2, if for some reason the leaf isn't found or you don't feel good, we actually don't charge at all.
Mhm.
And so we're only charging once we get to your reading, that once you're having a reading.
Yeah.
So I love
And it
that. I love that
includes
about them.
multiple, like 2 or 3 readings, right? And not only does it include multiple readings to find and read your leaf and translate it,
Yeah, it's
but you help people to align, you prepare them to like manifest, right? So that's why I chose you, is because
totally,
it's like a full
totally.
system, not just to get information. And you're like, what do I do with it, right? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I think one of my clients is actually on the chat right now, Casey. But yeah, what I do is I work with you before and after. And like really, like guys, understanding that you're manifesting your reality and how you're doing it is more profound than the reading itself. Truly, because you get your power back in that moment. And so taking that away and then actively manifesting, it's like the example I gave you of that psychic, right? When you had that psychic reading, it's like, why didn't that come into my life? It's because I shifted into the vibration of wanting. And so now it's like when you understand that, the reading, regardless of how the reading is, it's going to be epic. Because if it's stuff you didn't like, we're going to delete it. And if it's stuff you loved, we're going to actively manifest it. It's all on you. And so the vast majority of readers out there, people that are doing the Nadi Astrology, they don't do that. It really is the reading and we're done. Goodbye. And so to me, it's like, I just don't want this to be another reading that you just put away. I really want you to understand you're powerful and how you're creating and how you can change and actively manifest the amazing things. Like Daniel had incredible things that came through, which isn't surprising. And even when him and I talk, I'm like, we're actively manifesting it. Like we stay in that vibration, and that helps, right, Daniel?
It changed my life. I mean, it was so beautiful to just be like, yes, you have the retreat center and the magical school, like in a physical form, and you have all these film projects, and you're going to guide world leaders, and all these things I saw, but I'm like, is this really going to happen? And so it was just such a healing kind of divine balm that went into my heart from just seeing that, and also just the little things that still need to be tweaked, and that's great, right? With the solutions here, like the answers that I was praying for many years. So it's just one of the most beautiful things I've ever done, to be honest. And I'm so happy you all spent some time to share this hour with us and connect. And I look forward to hearing about your readings, so much more than a reading, and also seeing you here next week in the academy. So if you want more information about that or the free trial, just email us info@dreamporting.com. We'll send you the link, and love you all so, so, so much. Oh, someone's asking about Italy. Yes, we're having a 7-day full magical retreat in Italy in October. We'll also be sending you details on that. There's a lot of incredible things. Obviously, we have a 3-day retreat in Austin, July 5th through 7th. It's going to be so miraculous and mind-blowing. So we still have some tickets left if you'd like to join or know anyone. So I would love to meet you in person. And I'm so excited for all this magical life unfolding with all these incredible things happening. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Punam, for joining us. And
Thank
we'll
you
see you all
guys. Thank
next
you for
week.
having me.
Yes.
I love talking about this. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to share. And I'm so excited to work with so many of you guys. So thank you for showing up today and being here.
Mm, thank you. Thank you all so
Mm.
much. Lots of love.